Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Recollections May Vary, a royal recap. I'm here with Kevin O'Sullivan. You watch us together on the Political Asylum with Kevin O'Sullivan. And we have some pretty exciting content for you this Thursday that we'll tease a little bit later. But first, I want to talk to you, Kevin, about Justine Bateman, the gift, the Hollywood gift that keeps on giving. Do you remember a few weeks ago when she called Prince Harry and Meghan Markle disaster tourists?
Yes, I do. And ambulance chasers when Meghan and Harry turned up to Los Angeles while the fires were still going on and acted like everybody wanted them to be there. But in fact, Justine Bateman leading the charge for Angelenos, people who live in Los Angeles, the citizens of that great city, who were just furious, just you two just cashing in just for a kind of publicity picture. Aren't we wonderful visiting the victims? It was a very a sad spectacle, a horrible sight to see, and Justine Bateman was quite right. She called them disaster tourists and ambulance chasers. Others called them tragedy vultures. They were right. They were just cashing in. Really sick to see.
Well, Justine's had some additional thoughts on Harry and Meghan. I think specifically Meghan's new show has inspired her a little bit. And she wrote on her Substack, the problem with Meghan Markle and her husband, Harry, is that every opportunity they have explored or exploited over the past few years has been due to their aggressive Victim Olympics campaign. And she said the difference between doing that 2 years ago and doing it now is immense. In 2025, no one wants to see victims anymore. No one wants to watch someone play act at something they didn't earn. Adding that she has even created the couple's own gold medal. Like she created a graphic of for the Victimhood Olympics for them. I know that she is getting a lot of attention for this. And she tries to say, look, if Meghan Markle wants to do a cooking show, God bless her. But I do think she's calling out why a lot of Americans are over Prince Harry and Meghan. And I always felt like this would inevitably be the case because in America, we're very much like, get up and do it again, get up and try it again. You know, we're not typically the type that wallow in self-pity, but Harry and Meghan found a really great time to launch that campaign and it worked for a minute.
Yeah, I don't know Justine Bateman. She, of course, was in Family Ties, but she strikes me as a very smart woman, very perceptive. She's exactly right. She's exactly right that when Meghan and Harry started off on their road, leaving Britain, coming to America, it was different times. In those days, you could say, oh, I'm a victim, everybody's out to get me, everybody hates me, I'm the victim of racism. And such was the culture then that we all went, oh, you poor thing, you're a victim. In that case, I really love you, I really support you. Now, Justine is right that since then, since they came to the States, what Meghan has failed to notice is that times have changed. This is Trump's America. This is Trump's world, for God's sake. And we don't like victims anymore. We think victims are pathetic. They're whiners. Stop moaning about yourself. And as you say, show a bit of American spirit and just get on with your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does feel like the victimhood narrative is something that she actively pursues. She was basking in it during the Harry and Meghan Netflix series. She really enjoyed you could tell she really enjoyed telling the story, and she loved that she was having the opportunity to rehash all of this negativity that you'd think that as somebody that had quote unquote fled the British royal family, you would try to be truly escaping versus sitting there just reliving it in front of multiple cameras and strangers and someone else's house for Netflix. But what I really quickly want to say is I'm sorry if she felt that there was racism towards her, but it is hard for regular people to accept her stories going forward after seeing how extreme that Harry and Meghan describe everything, near catastrophic car chase. We got married a few days before, because they've been caught in so many, I think you guys call them porcupines. it's hard for people to process what she says as truth and only the truth going forward. There is cynicism.
Yeah, the high-speed Manhattan car chase, which apparently went along at the speed of about 8 miles an hour. You remember the mayor of New York going, high-speed car chase in Manhattan? Whoever saw that? That you can't go at a high speed in Manhattan. But it's another example of them saying, look at us, we're victims. We're victims of the evil paparazzi, of the evil media that chase us everywhere we go. Well, they don't really, and they didn't in Manhattan, as the mayor and the chief of police pointed out. They basically said, we think they're making this story up, or that they're exaggerating this story. Classic of those two. Everything is depressing. Everything is negative. You know, why can't she accentuate the positive for once? I mean, for God's sake.
We should talk about that, because there is, I think that's why why people are having a hard time accepting With Love Meghan. This stark contrast from the negative space she's been in for the last 5 years. Talk to me about that.
Well, exactly. You know, she's giving us this sob story about the victimhood that she suffered. Everybody thinks, you know, everybody subjects her to terrible racism, and the royal family were horrible to her. And then she came over to America and didn't like Donald Trump, and doesn't like the right wing, and hopes that the Democrats can be in charge, and all this kind of stuff. You know, as if she's having a terrible life. I mean, in Britain, she lived in palaces. She jet-setted around the world in private jets. Everybody served her, you know, said servants everywhere, didn't have to lift a finger. Comes to America, moves into, what is it, a $15 million mansion with 19 bathrooms, fantastic gardens, yard, amazing swimming pool, everything you could possibly want, tennis courts. And she says she's having a tough life. Give me a break. Do me a favour. I'm sick of it, you know. And so then she, all of a sudden, there's this volte-face, this massive U-turn, and it's With Love Meghan. Hey, isn't everything fantastic? Look, I'm making ladybird-shaped canapes, and I'm freezing edible flowers into ice cubes. Everything's great now. Ha, ha, ha. There's all my paid-for friends and the staff I'm making food for. Isn't it smashing? Well, people will take one look at this. They're looking at this and saying, is this the same woman who's been complaining and moaning for 5 years? Suddenly she's very, very happy, living a lovely life. What are we supposed to believe? You can't believe anything of her. Everything seems to be fake. It seems to be a fraud.
Extreme. One extreme or the other.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's why With Love, one of the reasons With Love Meghan is failing, the sense of fakery around it. And the other reason is that we've discussed many times. Well, actually, there's a lot of reasons, but the other main reason is it is catastrophically, breathtakingly boring. It is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. And that's why hardly anyone is watching it. That's why it wasn't commissioned for a second series. They'd already filmed one. And that's why Netflix is almost certain, all set to cancel the Sussex's contract, their $100 million contract. So again, a different story. She's celebrating. Isn't it great? I'm getting a second series. Oh, Netflix loved me. The real story is Netflix are cancelling the contract.
Yeah, the real story is you don't like all the negative headlines, and so you throw grain waffles up on Instagram and to distract people. Did you see the new theory that the waffles she posted aren't even the same waffles that you see her making because the creases are different? I'm like, whoa. Either way, they're hideous. Okay, either way, they're unedible to me. They're unappetizing or edible to me.
What was it, by the way? I mean, he had a greeny... It's like I said last night on my show when you were on, that it looked like someone had been sick on the plate. Just this kind of green stuff. Yeah, I mean, what was it supposed to be, by the way? What was that? It was just horrible looking. But it proves...
It had a kiwi mouth, blueberry eyes, and then whipped cream hair. Yeah, but I don't know who it's supposed to be.
But it proves, Kinsey, that she just doesn't have an eye for nice food. You know, as proved in With Love Meghan. You know, single skillet spaghetti and things like that. I mean, it sounded all right, but I mean, hardly Epicurean food, was it? All the dishes seemed so ordinary. My favourite, as I said to you last week, was the yogurt parfait, which was
Oh,
shop-bought yogurt with a few raspberries thrown on top. That's not yogurt parfait, or yogurt as we call it in Britain. That's just yogurt with a few raspberries chucked on the top of it. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, it just tells us that Prince Harry must stop and applaud at everything she does. You know, the living room's been picked up on a Thursday. Everybody stop and acknowledge that Meghan has done a huge service to the household. Like, it just tells me that Harry just like it fawns over everything. But we'll get into Harry and Meghan's relationship here in a second. But I want to talk. We've kind of talked about how there are these extremes. Meghan's all over the place. I think that here's another example of that with her new podcast, which instead of going the lifestyle route, which I would have if I were about to launch a lifestyle brand where you could buy tangible products that I'm trying to push. Meghan has decided to make an entrepreneurial podcast where she talks about the build of her brand, which to me, it's just a way for her to try to, again, distract from how thoroughly she has screwed up throughout this process. We thought this was American Riviera Orchard for a year. It suddenly, 2 weeks before launch, became As Ever. I told you that she just resubmitted some trademark paperwork without her signature, got kicked back to her again. I think that she's realizing that there are so many people calling out her screw ups that she thinks, oh, well, I'll just do this podcast and it'll be another way for me to distract from all of the errors I'm making, or I can try to talk them away in this podcast to justify them. But the reality is this sounds like as boring as the fake cooking show.
Yeah, the thing about Meghan is that all of her ideas are stolen. She's trying to be Martha Stewart with Love Meghan, and with this podcast. I mean, she's the latest of many people to do this, and there are a few quite successful podcasts involving successful business people interviewing other successful business people about the secret of the success in the business world. A lot of people interested in that kind of stuff, but these people are good presenters. These people have a heritage, are established successful business people themselves. Now, Meghan, she's not a successful business person. What has she ever done business-wise that succeeded? And don't say the TIG. That's not a business. That's an actress, doing
That was a hobby.
getting a few free things, getting free stuff with a sort of halfway interesting website. Well done. It's not a business. Now, American Riviera Orchard was never a business. Had to get canned because it was the wrong name.
Get it, but I'm pumped.
Yeah, exactly. And now we've got As Ever, which still isn't a business. So she's positioning herself as, as one tycoon to another. What's the secret of the success of your business? Well, as I said to you as I said to you last week, I hope she pays attention when these her interviewees give their answers, because she should take notes, because she's never had a successful business. And by the way, when you're talking about Harry, I'll give Meghan one thing. I mean, she's tenacious. She doesn't give up. She's so obsessed with herself that she just won't give up. So with each new failure, she's in your face again with another guaranteed failure. But she does keep trying. She's very, very trying indeed. What is Harry doing now? Anyone know? What on earth is he doing? He's doing nothing. He's just getting stoned or something, isn't he?
Oh, man. Well, I think that he's really going to. Actually, I saw someone giving him advice in one of the papers saying, continue with this brand separation. The Sussex brand is toxic. Stay independent and stay away from your wife.
Yeah.
And as I read that, I thought, You know what? That's very good advice. I feel like every time she's at the Invictus Games, we're appalled at her behavior. We're appalled at the daily updates on her wardrobe. You know, I do think that he is stronger away from her. And maybe that's why we saw him solo a few weeks ago at the firefighter charity event in Santa Barbara, despite the fact that I did think it was weird. Meghan's got a show she's trying to promote. You think she would put herself out there more beyond a People magazine article
Yeah.
or two about yoga, fist bumping her friends at yoga. But I do think that that's really good advice. That
Yeah.
I think he's going to stay in the charity space because that's all he's comfortable with. But like you said, is that really a job? Some would argue it is, making money, helping raise money for charities. I just hope that they're worthy charities, because now Ashley Biden's being investigated for the $250,000 that Harry and Meghan gave her. I just hope that they do their due diligence when it comes to the charities that Prince Harry associates himself with, and they are worthy causes, and he can make a an impact, an important impact. But it does seem like that's the place that he feels the safest. But I really believe that the Vanity Fair article was right when they said that sources close to the couple said Prince Harry was happy to stay home with the kids. Meghan Markle's, if Meghan wants to be the hustler, that's fine, because we didn't see his passion in the Netflix projects. Otherwise, he would have been out talking to Hoda Kotb on the Today Show. She's not there anymore, but anyone on the Today Show about why he was so passionate about his new polo show,
Well,
or playing a game of polo to promote his polo show. There were a million ways he could have done that. And Harry and Meghan think that they are just these extraordinary beings and that their existence will attract success. And that's not the case in Hollywood. You have to bust your ass. You know this, Kevin. If you want that Netflix contract to continue, get your ass on a red carpet and smile for the cameras, because you need to sign on the dotted lines again in 2025.
exactly right. You have to work at it in Hollywood, and I don't want to accuse Harry of being work shy, but I think he's a bit work shy. He likes to go surfing, and he likes to smoke dope. He likes to hang out, and he's perfectly happy to watch his wife slave her backside off, trying to be famous, trying to be loved, and failing. I think that the problem with that household, with the Sussexes household, is, neither of them are very talented. Both of them are pretty useless. He's completely useless, and she's sort of fairly useless. So this idea that she's the powerhouse, she's the genius in the household, well, yeah, she's probably slightly cleverer than him, not saying much, and she certainly works a little harder than him, again, not saying much. But there is your problem. You've got a couple of people, as you just said, Kinsey, very entitled. They expect fame and fortune to be bestowed upon them because of who they are. Don't put that much effort into it, and neither of them are particularly talented. This is a bad combination, a toxic combination, almost as toxic as her reputation in Hollywood after those series of articles accusing her of being a dreadful bully to her staff. So comprehensive were those articles in Vanity Fair, Hollywood Reporter, plus the stories we got when they were back here in Britain, that I think you can take it to the bank. This woman is vile to her staff. She bullies her staff, reduces grown men to tears. It's a tantrum, has tantrums at 5 a.m., is a tyrant in high heels, forces people to go to therapy, for long-term therapy, so traumatized are they for working with her. So that is all out there. That makes her reputation in Hollywood really poor. People don't want to work with her. Now she's got to add to that toxic load, the fact she's got polo on her CV, a disaster, and With Love Meghan also shaping up to be a disaster. So she's got a really toxic reputation. She's got two disastrous flops on her hands. She's on the road to nowhere, I'll tell you that, Kinsey. She's in big trouble.
I just want to also say you're not alone in your thought process that Meghan is not a talent, because remember and I'm so sorry that I'm spacing on his name, but there was a very high profile, I believe it was CAA agent at a podcasting conference that said, turns out Meghan's not a podcasting talent. Meghan's not a talent. Meghan's certainly not a podcasting talent.
Yeah.
And that blew up to the point where Meghan's people were like, "Well, excuse me, you guys tried to sign me after I married Harry." But that they did there was that agent in Hollywood that said, Meghan's not a talent, and I almost felt like we saw that in With Love Meghan, because I think she's clearly acting, but not well enough for us to buy it because a lot of us are like, this is so fake. Let's talk about, I know I only have a few more minutes with you. Let's quickly talk about the Netflix contract. You alluded to the fact that there are whispers around Hollywood that it is done so, which would also explain to me why they did the back-to-back Meghan series. Let's get this all done, swept out of the way so that there can be a clean break. Because likely, similar to Spotify, there were expectations that Harry and Meghan had to meet to redeem whatever the initial agreement was. So we need X amount of content from you by this date, and you will receive this, is potentially what the contract said. So that would make sense to me why Netflix, we already have this rented house, everything's in place, and if we can get these 16 episodes out of the way, then your contract's fulfilled, and see ya. But there are reports and whispers, I should say, there's gossip. And it's stemming from a journalist and screenwriter named Marina Hyde on her podcast.
I know Marina.
Oh, yeah. So potentially Netflix keeping an end with Harry and Meghan, because if there's a breakup, they want that exclusive, which what they don't mention in the conversation or in the article is that there were reports that Meghan was shopping a post-divorce Prince Harry book in Vanity Fair, talking about those rumors circulating. So that's why I feel like there's some credibility to this theory that Netflix would stay in the good graces, pick projects, maybe handpick projects for Harry and Meghan going forward, but no vague deal where it's just like, you're just so good at what you do, we're going to give you complete creative control.
If you think about that, Kinsey, that means that going forward, when their contract is cancelled, when it ends, the $100 million contract, that in essence, Meghan has the same relationship with Netflix as you or I do, or anybody does. That if you've got a good idea and we fancy making the series, we'll make a show with you. So when the newspapers, certainly on this side of the Atlantic, got very, very successfully spun on this story, where they all went, Netflix said we want to work with them possibly on individual projects in the future. Well, what's the translation of that? We're ending their contract. We're not going to pay them $100 million anymore. They'll be out of contract. That's the story. That goes for anyone. A company like Netflix will work with anyone if they think they can come up with a successful movie or TV series or drama. That's the nature of being a broadcasting company. So she doesn't have any particular special arrangement. And as Marina Hyde points out, they're not the only broadcasting company sniffing around Meghan in case there's a divorce. Other companies have come in and said, well, we might be interested in a series with you if you get divorced. I mean, if she writes a divorce book, the story of our breakup, the story of our relationship, I'll read that. At last, Meghan will finally be interesting. Unlike her boring podcast series Archetypes and what sounds like an even more boring series, Confessions of a Female Founder, talking to female tycoons about how to be successful in business. I can't think of anything more tedious. And when Meghan gets her hands on it, by God, it's going to bore your pants off. It really, really will. But if she gets divorced, I'm interested, and so will a lot of people be. So that's all it is. The contract is coming to an end. It has failed. The Sussexes have failed, and in the future, if they get divorced, Netflix might be interested. In fact, loads of broadcasting companies will be interested, and you never know. It's an outside chance, but maybe Meghan might come up with another idea that Netflix are interested. That's the nature of a broadcasting company. That's the nature of a movie studio. They sit there to have ideas pitched at them, and if they like them, they make them. So let's not go running away with the fact or the pretense that going forward, Meghan has some sort of special relationship with Netflix. She doesn't. It's over.
I think that's important. That's an important point to make. You're right that it's really you and I could pick up the phone and pitch them things every day too.
Yeah.
One
In fact, I've
comment
got a great
I saw
idea for a cooking show with Love Kevin. You know, I'm going to make sort of.
What about me? Where am I?
Yeah, you could be in it, Kins. We'll make horrible green dishes with slime all over.
Oh. I saw somebody leave a comment under one of our videos saying Netflix wouldn't want Meghan, they would want Harry. But Meghan's the only one that's going to, I mean, I agree. I'd want to hear from Harry before I'd want to hear from Meghan. But I feel like Meghan's the only one that's going to be willing to talk. Prince Harry, Meghan, living in the state of California with 2 children, basically has Prince Harry by the you-know-what. Prince Harry, if they separate, which I don't think he would ever initiate, if they separate, I feel like he has to tiptoe around her because in the state of California, I think she has the upper hand.
Yeah, and I think what's going on now, why that relationship might become more difficult going forward is this, that she's learning right now that just being married to Harry does not make her an automatic star that everybody wants to use, wants to film projects with, wants to give money.
Well, it did, though. It did, Kevin.
Yeah, but it doesn't now, does it?
Tarnished it. Her behavior tarnished it.
Yeah, but it doesn't now, is the point. So being married to Harry isn't much use to her anymore. And you know what she's like. When people aren't any use to her, she dumps them. She ditches them. And she may conclude before too long, this ginger guy, I don't really need him anymore. He's not doing me any good. So that would be interesting. If they do split up, yeah, she'll sell the book all right. She'll probably do the TV play, the drama, the documentary. She'll do everything she can to make herself famous and make herself money out of it. Harry won't do it. He won't do it because he's a member of the royal family. And even though he's a bit of a maverick, he doesn't behave like royals ought to. And I don't say that in a flattering way. He behaves disgracefully, if you ask me. But he is still a royal, and the royals don't spill their guts to the public about their relationship. So he won't do it, she will.
That was Meghan's, I'm glad you said that because I keep trying to stress, I feel like that was Meghan's influence. He's not totally innocent, but everything he said about his family, I felt like was her whispering in his ear, do it, go, they deserve it.
Yeah. No, sure. She lured him into it. I mean, that's why for us on this side of the Atlantic in Britain, when they started doing that interview with Oprah Winfrey and then he wrote his book, for us, we grow up with the royals. We know they behave, how they behave. They never do that. They never talk about their private lives. They never talk about their relationships. Suddenly you've got this weird ginger guy, as I say, absolutely spilling his guts, giving us every spit and comma of his relationship with her, his background, where he lost his virginity. Who needs to know that? Him freezing his privates, getting frostbite. I mean, it was bizarre. And you're right. Why did he do that? Why did he behave in such an unroyal way? Such a shockingly unroyal way, because she enticed him into doing it. It's very important to be open, Harry. It's very important to be open with your emotions. No, it isn't. You're British. We don't do that sort of thing. Certainly not in the royal family.
Okay, let's talk really quickly as I search Prince Harry in the news section to see if there are any updates. On Thursday, we're going to discuss Prince Harry's immigration papers because we believe we'll have a little bit more access into his visa application and how he entered the country and if he lied to enter the country. That deadline is today. And there have been no updates on what's inside the paperwork, but we know that it will be redacted. But surely we'll have an idea of whether or not he lied in his application, because otherwise, what value would it be to the public and the Heritage Foundation to release it at all if they were going to hide that one particular question, which is what is on everyone's mind? Did you
The
get
qu-
special privilege, or did you lie to enter the country?
Yeah, the question being, did have you, or do you use, or have you ever used illegal drugs? The correct answer for Harry to that should be yes, I
All
have,
the time.
because
Just
he
kidding.
24/7 cocaine, cannabis, magic mushrooms. Wrote
No, he
about
didn't
that.
like cocaine.
Yeah, he didn't like the cocaine. Yeah, wrote about it in his book. That's the point. That's why the Heritage Foundation have been going after him, because he wrote about it in his book, and he's now saying he regrets that. Yeah, well, you shouldn't have been such a dumbass, should you, Harry? You know, what an idiot! What an idiot! He's landed himself in this mess. As you say, we're in a bit of an awkward predicament right now, Kinsey, because we'd hoped we might have that decision by the court now. A judge called Carl Nichols has ordered that Harry's visa application should be made public. Now, there are 4 sections in the visa application. One of them we know the Department of Homeland Security has ordered should be fully redacted. So whatever, one section we won't know anything about. The other 3 sections will be partly redacted, but none of it matters. The only thing we need to know is, will we find out whether or not he answered yes or no to taking illegal drugs? As you quite rightly say, if he answered yes, why was he allowed into the country? If you answer yes to that question, you're supposed to be banned from coming to America, not only to live, but even to visit. You're not allowed into America if you've taken drugs. All right. So if he said that, what's he doing in the States? The other answer being, no, I haven't taken drugs. Well, we know that would be a lie. To lie on your US visa application form is a federal and very serious offence, for which Donald Trump says he won't throw him out of the country, but he will not stand in the way of a prosecution. So if he lied on his visa application, trust me, he's going to get prosecuted. And that will be an extremely interesting spectacle, to say the least.
I think really truly that there was some sort of special privilege given to him, because at the time, Trump has always loved the royal family. Prince Harry was still kind of in the royal family. We didn't know all the shady details yet about them leaving and why. And it was in the middle of a global plague. So I feel like somebody was like, yeah, let's just get him over here. The world's shutting down. But we'll have to wait and see. That's my personal opinion. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And over on the Talk TV YouTube, Kevin and I will have the visa discussion as soon as that paperwork drops. So check back on Thursday for that conversation. Kev, it was so good to spend some time with you and to laugh with you this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here.
Always a pleasure, Kinsey.
Bye, guys.